Lovely. Thank you so much for coming. How is everyone's day today? It's an amazing conference. I am enjoying the conference and enjoying Toronto so far. It's my first time here in Canada. Yay. Yeah, so how many of you have heard about PyScript? Yay, I'm so glad there are a few of you. And for the rest of you, I hope you'll like PyScript after this talk. Oh yeah, my topic is PyScript for data science because I am a data scientist, so I will talk a little bit about PyScript from a data scientist perspective. And most of you probably don't know me. I want to do a short introduction. My name is Sophia Young. I am a senior data scientist and a developer advocate at Anaconda. I have been at Anaconda for more than 4 years. My background is in psychology, statistics, and computer science. I am very passionate about Python open source and data science ecosystem. I have created several Python open source packages, and I have contributed to some of my favorite packages like Holovis. Yeah, I also volunteer at various Python and open source communities such as non-focus, PyData conferences, and SciPy conferences. And finally, we have a data science and machine learning book club on Discord, and we read one book a month, and we meet with the authors at the end of the month. If you're interested, please join. And we're sponsored by O'Reilly Media, so we get free O'Reilly books in our book club. So the agenda today, I would like to talk about what is PyScript, how to use PyScript, why you should learn about PyScript and use PyScript, what does it mean for us data scientists to use PyScript, and finally I want to show you some demos. Disclaimer, PyScript is still at its alpha stage and is under heavy development. So we encourage you to play and explore and even contribute to PyScript. We want to build a community where everyone can contribute. Even though it's created in Anaconda, it's completely open source. We have a governance model. It's pure open source, driven and developed by the community. So what is PyScript? Think about this question. Wouldn't it be cool to run Python in your browser? With PyScript, now you can. Just look at this code snippet. It's a HTML code, but you can run Python in your HTML. Isn't it crazy? I just love it so much. It is first announced at PyCon US this year, this April, by our CEO, Peter Wayne, and it's developed by our CEO actually did some development as well as the lead developer, Fabio Pliger. So what is PyScript? It is a framework for creating rich Python apps in the browser. Interleave Python in HTML, which means you can actually write your Python code in HTML. It gives you the full access to the web page, can call and be called by JavaScript libraries. So if you want to use JavaScript libraries, you don't need to write JavaScript anymore. You just import your JavaScript libraries in Python. I will show you a demo in a little bit. And all of our app logic and code is in one language. And everything lives in the browser, no server needed. This is huge, right? So when we deploy our dashboard, deploy our models, we don't need AWS, we don't need Google Cloud anymore. It's just everything runs in the browser. You don't need any server. It's just HTML, but a lot more powerful than HTML. Not only does PyScript allow you to execute Python in the web browser, it actually brings the whole Python ecosystem into the browser for you. When we use Python, we're not just use the standard Python libraries. We actually import NumPy, SciPy, Pandas, scikit-learn. All those Python ecosystems can be used in the browser using PyScript. And you might think, what about JavaScript, right? So if you are a front-end developer, you might really love JavaScript. And you might wonder, is PyScript here to replace JavaScript? The answer is no. PyScript is not a drop-in replacement for JavaScript. But instead, PyScript works well with JavaScript. In PyScript, you can call all those elements JavaScript has access to, and you can use JavaScript libraries. And so this is how PyScript actually works in the backend. So through the magic of PyLDI and MicroPython, the Python written in PyScript is actually get compiled to WebAssembly, which then runs in the browser. For those of you who are not familiar with WebAssembly, it was first released in 2017, and then quickly became the official worldwide console standard by 2019, include a human-readable .wat text format language, which then get converted into a binary .wasm format that browsers can run. So basically, under the hood, all the PyScript stuff get compiled to this .wasm format, and all of your modern browsers can just run this file seamlessly. Like I said, the intermediate level of this backend is PyLDI and MicroPython. PyLDI is a port of CPython to WebAssembly, and in Scripton, PyLDI makes it possible to install and run Python packages in the browser with micropip. So micropip is similar to pip Anaconda, where you normally use your Python environment to install packages. With PyLDI, you can use micropip to install packages. And MicroPython is a lean and efficient implementation of the Python 3 programming language that includes a small subset of the Python standard library and is optimized to run on the microcontrollers and in constrained environments. So MicroPython is a lot leaner and efficient, which means right now the biggest bottleneck of PyScript is the loading time and latency. It takes a while because PyLDI takes a few seconds to load the packages. With MicroPython, because it's so lean, so efficient, so small, it's actually really fast. So we actually just announced MicroPython this past month. So, exciting section, how to use PyScript. First question is, okay, sorry, there is a typo. How to install PyScript? The good news is, if you want to use PyScript, you do not need to install anything. Yes, you hear me right. You do not need to install anything. Think about it. When you want to use Python, you usually go to Anaconda, right, to install Anaconda and start using Python. Or for those of you who don't use Anaconda, you still need to install something to your browser, to your computer, and then you do all those installation instructions and get Python running. It's a whole bunch of steps. But with PyScript, you don't need to do that anymore. What you need to do is just add those 2 lines of code to your HTML, just those 2 lines of code. Here's a hello world example. Here we have a hello.html file where we just inserted those 2 lines of code that I just talked about, which is one of the code is the PyScript CSS file, and another one is a JavaScript file. And then with that, you can have access to this PyScript tag, and within this PyScript tag, you can write your Python code like what you normally do for your standalone Python files or for your Jupyter notebooks. And the result is hello world printed out to your browser. So when you open up this file on your desktop or wherever it's saved, it just shows up. And the Python is actually running when you open up this browser. A lot of us data scientists, we use matplotlib. So here's another example showing you a matplotlib example. So a lot of times we need to install packages for our projects. Here I want to have 2 packages, NumPy and matplotlib. So how do we define that, right? Where do we install the packages? We actually define the packages in the pyconfig tag. So you can see I use the JSON format in the pyconfig tag. And in the packages definition, I defined it as NumPy and matplotlib. And then when we open up this file micropip will install NumPy and matplotlib for us. And then again, in the PyScript tag, this is where we can write our Python code as normal. I copy and paste this code from the matplotlib documents, so the result is just a matplotlib figure. Again, when you open up this HTML file, you just get this code written by Python. Another tag I want to talk about is the PyRepo tag. So when we have this tag and open up this file, it basically creates a repo component which is rendered to this web page as a code editor. You can think about it as a cell in your Jupyter notebook, right? With here, you can type import this, or you can type whatever Python code you want to do, and click that green button to the right, or just Shift-Enter, and you can get the output of import this, which is the zone of Python. Okay. Anyone now have a good understanding of how PyScript works? It's pretty easy to understand and pretty easy to use, right? Just 2 lines of code, and with PyScript tag, you can use PyScript. Okay, so now let's talk about why do we use PyScript? What does PyScript mean for data science? First of all, it's no installation. It's not just easy installation, it's no installation. You do not need to install Python. It significantly lowers the barrier of programming. I don't know about you, but I have met a lot of analysts or data practitioners who actually don't use Python. They use SQL all day, right? So they find it challenging to even get it started. They find it confusing to get the configuration going. So with PyScript, there's no installation. It's the bring programming for the 99%. Whether you have a 9-year-old kid at home, right? They can just play with PyScript right away. As long as they have access to the internet, they can play with PyScript. The second biggest part is reproducibility. A big challenge of data science that I have experienced is reproducibility, right? The code my coworker write might not be working for me because we have different environment and dependencies. With the PyConfig tag, it is actually bring a self-contained environment and dependencies in the browser for you. So you can just share this file to your coworker, and then when they open it, they are using the the same environment for you. You don't need Docker images, you don't need Kubernetes. You just need this one file with all the environment and dependencies configured for you. And you can configure other things like the version of PyDide and other things, runtime stuff, in this PyConfig tag. And because it is an HTML file, it is super easy to share. You can share with your coworker through email, through Google Drive, Dropbox, just super easy. Or GitHub if you use GitHub. And this file, again, contains all the necessary package dependencies and everything you will need, and also the code. So everything in one file. And easy deployment, right? I have deployed some PyScript apps on my GitHub pages, which is super easy. You just need to push your code to a website or embed your code to a website, and it just works. Again, it is easy to deploy dashboards and models. You don't need any servers, which means our data scientists can focus on the code, not the infrastructure, right? It's the code that we love. We just need to focus on the code. And the last thing, it works with JavaScript libraries. D3 is a popular JavaScript visualization library. In PyScript, in the PyScript tag, you can just import DS as you would import any other Python packages. And you can start using the DS functionalities in the Python code. So previously, if you want to use DS and you have a pandas data frame, like you have to export your pandas data frame and then use DS in a separate file, right? So you might have a Python file, a JavaScript file. But with PyScript, you can have your pandas data frame, you can have your Python dictionary and use ds directly on those Python objects, which is super convenient. Everything in one file. And then to the right here is what this plot looks like. Okay, now it's demo time. Peter, can I get help with the demo? Okay, so yeah, because I can't click on the link, I have to ask for Peter's help. Thank you so much. So in the first demo here, I created this panel dashboard with, it's a HoloViz dashboard. HoloViz is my favorite open source visualization system. Panel is for creating dashboards. htplot is the entry point for building plots. So I highly recommend you to check out HoloViz documents to learn about it. But here is the panel dashboard, and it's hosted on my GitHub pages, as you can see, the link on the top here. And with this dashboard, you can share this with your, I don't know, stakeholders, your coworkers, your friends, right? And then they can just play with this dashboard. Yeah, no server needed. You don't need to host it anywhere. Just use GitHub pages. Peter, could you show the next demo, please? And this is a PyScript.net/examples page where you can see many examples using PyScript. Here is an example where we use PyScript and WebGL. Right, WebGL is another JavaScript libraries, and you can write that in PyScript. And if you go to PyScript.net and also the PyScript GitHub, you can see all the code for those examples. And you can also see there's a k-means demo. There's some other demos with machine learning code. So you actually can run machine learning in the browser and serve it on the website. So yeah, Peter, could you go back to the slides, please? Thank you. Next page, yes, sorry. So PyScript, we have a Discord channel. It's actually built and set up by the community members, not built by Anaconda, which is amazing. If you would like to join the community, please feel free to use the Discord link here. Yeah, thank you. Let me know if you have any questions.
Hi, this is amazing. I just had a few questions. I mean, I just had one major question. Can you interact with DOM elements using PyScript? Are there goals to maybe, is this purely like a static client-side rendering concept, or are you trying to like incorporate server-side ideas as well with these, for example, dashboards?
Yeah, the first question, yes, you can access DOM. There are amazing YouTube videos out there about how you do that. There is PyScript tutorials on YouTube, built by community, which is amazing. The second question, oh, is this? Yes, it's completely client side. You run it in your browser. You use your own computer, right? The idea about PyScript is that you don't need to use server.
Hi, I think it's really, really cool, so great job. My question is related to the dependencies. You showed like how to define like packages and all the dependencies. There's two questions about it. First of all, it's all client-side, right? So these dependencies need to be downloaded. Some of them can be really big, like if you import PyTorch, for instance, it's like 700 megabytes. Is there like a caching or something like that? And the second question would be, you're mentioning that this solves like you can share like an HTML page with someone else and they will have the same results. What if like a year from now the versions are different? How are versions managed? The version of Python also that is running? Just curious about that.
Yes, that's a great question. Thank you. I didn't hear the first question quite clearly, but I think you're talking about PyTorch, if we can use any Python libraries?
Just an example of a really large package that if you try to install it, like just loading the page would take several minutes just because it's downloading, right? I'm just curious if that's the case or how does it work?
Yeah, the latency. It's about latency then. Yeah, so the PyScript team is actively working on improve the latency. As you can see, I don't know, if you click the example links, it might take like a second or two to load each page. Yeah, our team is actively working on that, so stay tuned. In terms of PyTorch, that is a great question because another limitation is that currently we can only use the packages that exist in PyODI for PyScript, since one of the dependency is PyODI. And it depends, yes. So for packages that depend on C, it's harder to build. So PyODI needs, their team is building a lot of packages right now, and Anaconda is contributing. But for PyTorch, even though PyTorch is on PyODI, a lot of the dependencies PyTorch depend on, which is a lot, is not on PyODI. So PyTorch currently doesn't work, but hopefully you will in the future. A lot of people are in that space right now. But scikit-learn, scikit-image works. Okay, another question is about package dependencies, the versions. That is a great question. So as you can see, in my package definition, I didn't pin versions. You could pin versions, but you might wonder what is the version of the package I'm installing right now, right? It also depends on PyODI. As you can see, there's a section where I have runtime pinning the PyODI package, PyODI versions. That PyODI version is pinning the package that it is installing. So if you have that configuration of the PyODI version, you have the package version as well.
Hi, my question is, you mentioned that this is an alpha release, so a lot of big organizations might be quite skeptical of using this at this point in time. So do you have any timelines as to when you would have a stable release as possible?
That is a great question. Yes, I think because of latency issues, we don't recommend people using it in production. But it's a great demo. I think if you don't have latency requirements, for example, if I want to share my dashboards with stakeholders, which doesn't need real-time machine learning outputs, it's fine. But if you really care about latency, then it's not good at the moment. The roadmap is coming out this month, so I think we'll have blog posts coming soon when we have more information to share. Thank you.
You mentioned that it only supports packages that are in PyODI at the moment. If we have our own packages that are up on PyPI or whatever, how can we get them into PyODI? How can we help you?
Yes, that's another great question. PyODI has some instructions on how to make PyODI packages. Just follow those steps, I think. Or I guess if PyODI, the developers and also Anaconda is also contributing, if people are strongly wanting that to happen, PyODI developers will make it happen for you. But there is good instructions on how to do that. And also like how do you make an issue request to build packages. Alrighty. I guess no questions, no more questions. Thank you so much.